Jordan Addison, TJ Hockenson, and Ladd McConkey are among the biggest ADP fallers in the month of August. We'll explain why on this episode of the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast.
You are Locked On Dynasty Football, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Here are your hosts, Marcus Mosher and Kate Madjuk.
Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. I am your host, Marcus Mosher. You can follow me on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher. Joining me today, as always, is Kate Madjuk. You can follow her on Twitter at Kate Madjuk. You can also read her at Yahoo Fantasy. On today's show, we are taking a look at the three biggest ADP fallers in the month of August, according to Dynasty League Football. If you missed yesterday's show, we took a look at the biggest risers, including Travis Kelce, which I don't quite get, but go check out that show. We had a lot of good information in that one. Okay, let's start with Jordan Addison, who has seen a pretty significant drop in his ADP over the last month. He went from 48th overall down to 64th overall. His draft position among wide receivers right now, wide receiver 34. At one point this offseason, Kate, he was all the way up to wide receiver 23. Why the huge drop in his ADP?
Well, here's the thing about all of these trends that I think we're starting to see right now in terms of Dynasty ADP. Even though it's Dynasty, I think we're seeing some, as we're approaching the actual season kickoff, we're seeing maybe some redraft biases start to sneak into some of the Dynasty takes. Because, after all, it's Dynasty. You still have to set lineups. You still have to win, now, even if it is more of a long-term game. So, I think as we're starting to inch closer to the season, we're starting to see some of the values of these players be more reflective of what are they going to give me now? And I think there are some serious question marks about this Minnesota Vikings offense in general. Two of the biggest followers that we're going to talk about today, Jordan Addison, TJ Hockenson. What does the world of possibilities look like for a Jordan Addison, for a TJ Hockenson with Sam Darnold throwing them the football? Now, I do want to say, I kind of begrudgingly listed Sam Darnold as a potential breakout candidate on a recent roundtable for Yahoo Fantasy that I participated in. Part of it was because everybody else was already taken, but part of it was because this is the best situation, and you've kind of convinced me of this. This is the best situation that Sam Darnold has been in his career. So maybe it's not that bad.
I want to. We'll leave TJ Hockenson for segment 2 because I think his is completely different. I agree with you. So much so, in fact, I was doing some redraft rankings for the 33rd team. That's a plug. And when we got the news that JJ McCarthy was going to be out for the year, I actually moved Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson up a little bit. Just because I think Sam Darnold, who is more experienced, is going to be better at getting them the football consistently throughout the season. So in the short term, I actually think Sam Darnold's going to help Jordan Addison a little bit more. But I do think there's some other factors here that we have to consider. Remember, Jordan Addison got hurt in training camp this year. Some kind of ankle injury. We haven't heard exactly what it is. He had to be carted off the field. Now, obviously, it's not a major injury. All the reports suggest that he should be ready by week 1, but there's a chance that he might not be 100% healthy by week 1. There's also the possibility of a suspension at some point for some of the off-the-field incidents that Jordan Addison has had. We don't know when that's coming. I know some people have speculated maybe it's a 2 to 4 game suspension, so nothing super major if you're playing in dynasty leagues, but it's worth noting, right? Having said all of that, Kate, I really like that price tag at wide receiver 34. If he can be my third receiver and I don't have to pay top 30 prices, I really like Jordan Addison. He was super productive as a rookie, right? He was productive as a rookie even when Kirk Cousins was gone, right? And Justin Jefferson was back on the field, was scoring a bunch of touchdowns. We should also mention with Addison, TJ Hockenson not likely to play. Will certainly won't play the first 4 games. Maybe won't play the first half of the season, which gives Addison even a bigger workload. I'm buying the dip.
Here's the thing about Jordan Addison, though, Marcus. Like, let's not forget that a big part of his super successful rookie season was that touchdown production.
Yes,
I
it
mean,
was.
it was absolutely insane. I mean, through the first 8 weeks of the season, he was on pace for 15 touchdowns. 15 touchdowns. Now he's being paired with Sam Darnold, who I regret to inform you, like, maybe is fine for this year, but he has thrown for a career touchdown rate of 3.5%. Like, that ain't gonna cut it for Jordan Addison. He's not gonna average nearly a full touchdown per game because we don't even know if Sam Darnold's gonna average a full touchdown per game. Like, let's not forget, weeks 9 on, Marcus, the 17-game pace for Jordan Addison, 106 targets, 64 receptions, 810 receiving yards, and 6 touchdowns. That's fine, but it is wide receiver 3 production. You break in the fact that, like, yeah, the quarterback is questionable and there's going to be a lot of target competition. Obviously, TJ Hockenson starting on the pup list, but, like, yeah, once all 3 of them are healthy, like, I just don't know if there's going to be enough to go around in terms of, like, how can all these wide receivers be successful? And then the last question I have for you, like, at what point should we be concerned about the off the field stuff? Like,
I'm concerned. I mean, it's nothing like I don't want to put this lightly. It's not like it's some of these other situations where you're worried about, him just being a really bad dude or anything like that. It seems like a lot of it's maturity problems with him. And I think some of that will go away, hopefully, as he gets a little bit older. But it is a concern.
were there any of these concerns at, like, Pitt, USC? Like, did we see
nothing to this degree? No. Here's what it comes down to with Jordan Addison. It's 2 things. Number 1, I just believe in his talent. I think he's a really good player. He made Kenny Pickett a first-round pick, for goodness sakes, right? Like, that's how good of a receiver he is. He went to USC,
I still hate him for that.
Yeah, I know. Was productive in his rookie season. Like, I just believe in the talent, Kate. So I want to bet on the talent. The other part, which is maybe more important, is I believe in Kevin O'Connell. Like, I just think he's a really good offensive-minded head coach. And we saw this last year with Nick Mullins and Josh Dobbs playing quarterback. Like, he was able to get those guys to put up huge numbers. I believe Nick Mullins had 2 400-yard games last year in the second half of the season with Minnesota. I kind of just want to invest in this Vikings offense because I think it's going to be really good. The offensive line's really good. I understand the quarterback questions. I get it. But if I can get the number 2 target on this Vikings offense and I'm not having to spend top 30 wide receiver prices, I'm in.
Very fair. All of that is fair. One question for you. Do you know how many games of 300 plus receiving yards Sam Darnold has had in his career?
You say 300-yard passing games?
350 plus.
351?
0.
It's going to happen this year, so it's going to be good for Sam Darnold. All right, let's talk about the tight end on this Vikings offense, TJ Hockenson, who is dealing with a major knee injury. We'll discuss his ADP fall next. This episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Are you tired after lunch? Listen, you're not alone. I get tired every time after I eat lunch. In fact, research shows that more than 70% of us hit the wall after lunch. Let a 5 Hour Energy shot help you leap over that wall instead of crashing into it. With 0 sugar and a convenient portable size, it is the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. The 5 Hour Energy website has flavors galore like watermelon, tropical burst, grape berry, and more. Try them all right now. On the site, you even have the option to build your own 12 or 24 pack. You choose the flavors and it's delivered right to your door. Go to 5hourenergy.com. That is the number 5, hourenergy.com, and get some 5 Hour Energy products today. you can use our promo code LOCKEDONFB to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid through September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotion. This code is not good on subscription orders. Again, that is Locked On FB. Go to 5hourenergy.com today. Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Go make your second listen to Locked On Fantasy Football Podcast. Get daily insights to the best fantasy draft strategies so that you can win your league this season. Vinny and Michelle do an absolutely fantastic job. I'm sure they're going to be telling you to draft my guy, CeeDee Lamb, really, really high. Go check out the podcast listed in the descriptions of this show as well. All right, Kate, let's talk about TJ Hockenson, who has seen a pretty big decrease in his ADP, 67th overall down to 85th overall. At one point last year, he was up to tight end 2, tight end 3. He's all the way down to tight end 10 right now in dynasty leagues. George Kittle, Evan Ingram have both jumped him, and Jake Ferguson getting close to jumping him as well. Is this too far of a fall for Hawk?
Yes, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm livid. I'm angry about this. What are we doing, people? So this is Dynasty, right? Like, we all know that. This is Dynasty. We have to approach every player in terms of their long-term value. So what are we doing approaching a 26-year-old tight end who, yeah, I'm sorry, he has an ACL injury. He's coming back from an ACL injury. That's a big bummer. Sorry, he just turned 27. But 27-year-old TJ Hockenson.
He's an old man now.
Yeah, never mind. My whole argument's done because he's 20. No, I don't care about any of these things. Like, this is Dynasty. You have to approach every single player with a long-term outlook. And I'm sorry, there's no realm. I don't care if he's not going to be available to you for the first half of the year. He's probably going to win you the second half of the season. But there's absolutely no reason for him to be drafted, I'm going to say, even behind Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts, he's 4 years younger, but like, we still have some big time question marks about what he can consistently do when he's on the football field. Like, I think there's probably not many safer tight ends than TJ Hockenson right now that also have as high an upside as TJ Hockenson has. I don't even care who's at quarterback. I don't care about 2024. I care about TJ Hockenson long term. And from 2025 out, he's still a top 5 tight end for me.
Yeah, I agree. I would rather have Hawk than George Kittle and Evan Ingram. Kyle Pitts is a little tough for me just because I still really believe
I get it
in the talent of Kyle Pitts. But these other two, I mean, Ingram and Kittle are both older tight ends, and there's a lot of other options in that passing game. Now, I understand there's Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison for Minnesota, but we saw last year, like when Hawk was healthy, Kevin O'Connell was designing an offense kind of around him and making sure that he got a lot of touches. It seems like the Vikings are pretty optimistic that Hockenson is going to play in the first half of the year. Now, you mentioned he's going to miss the first 4 games. I think they almost did that to protect himself. Because I think if it was up to the player, these guys would all try to go out and play. But I think they would like to see Hockenson start to play week 5, week 6, and then maybe by Thanksgiving, him be up to 100% healthy, taking the full snaps like he would like to. I can't draft him that low because we know the talent is so good. He signed a long-term contract in Minnesota. We saw what the upside was last year. I think that's a value at tight end 10. But Kate, as we talked about the last 2 days, the closer that we get to the season, the more that dynasty managers tend to overvalue the players that are going to be available right now. And they tend to devalue the players that are maybe younger and that aren't going to help you right away, or the players that are coming off injuries. And I think that's what's happening to Hawk here.
Yeah. And I just want to say this. I don't care what situation you're in. If you are in a win now position, if you're in a rebuilding position, I still think TJ Hockenson is an absolutely perfect trade target. Now, let's say you're in a circumstance where you are in a win now. And again, I'm going to say this full-heartedly. I think TJ Hockenson could be a big time league winner in 2024. Because I think like second half of the season, I mean, the production I think can be tremendous. Now, like Jordan Addison, I'm more concerned because of how much of his production was touchdown based. Like TJ Hockenson, he gets the volume, he gets everything. And the bar is a little bit lower for tight ends than it is for wide receivers to have like a league winning impact. So
Sure.
that's the caveat there that I want to like just put out there, because I know I just like poo-pooed Jordan Addison and now I'm hyping up Hawk. But like again, bar's very low. Let's say you're in a win now position and you want TJ Hockenson for the second half of the season. Who are some tight ends you think you should be targeting that maybe are like lower tier to pair with TJ Hockenson, just to like get you through the first half of that season where things will, you won't have him
got
available.
an easy one. He's
Okay.
almost free in most of the leagues that I play in. It's Taysom Hill.
Yes.
Yeah, because Taysom Hill is going to get a lot of work. We've been seeing in the preseason, like him getting running back touches, using him as a receiver out of the backfield. I think Taysom Hill in the first 6 weeks of the season can post basically tight end one numbers, but low end tight end one numbers, and you can get him for nothing. Do you know where he's being drafted right now among Dynasty League tight ends?
I don't think he is.
That's
Is
the
he
point.
drafted?
He's not being drafted, right? And if you're playing like on an ESPN league, he has tight end eligibility.
He now actually just got tight end eligibility in Yahoo. So
And I
hashtag
believe
Yahoo.
it's the same on sleepers. So like
Mhm.
that's somebody that you can pick up right now. It doesn't cost you anything, or if it does, it's a late round pick. And you can have him start the first half of your season and give you pretty good production. Now, if you want a more traditional tight end, because that scares you a little bit, I think Dalton Schultz, who's being drafted as tight end
Yes.
18, can help you out a little bit. He's 28 years old. He's in a really good offense. Now he is splitting targets with all the names that we mentioned yesterday: Tank Dell, Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins. But I think Dalton Schultz has enough skins on the wall to show that he is a quality tight end. And maybe you just cobble together those two. You put TJ Hockenson on your IR and you wait. I think that's the optimal strategy here.
Yeah, I like that. Another name I'm going to throw out there, and again, not nearly as safe as maybe a Dalton Schultz, but Greg Dulcich heading into
Sure.
year 3. Um, looking at that offense in general, they moved on from Tim Patrick, Marvin Mims, TBD, Troy Franklin, a non-factor this year. Like it's pretty much Cortland Sutton or bust. And if Greg Dulcich stays healthy, it sounds like the expectations for him are pretty high in this offense. And there's a pretty immediate pathway to a potential target share. One more name I want to throw out there, Cade Otton, maybe.
That's a
Like,
great one. Like if you need to go super cheap, I think K. Dotton is in for a big year. Love that one.
yeah, Tyler Conklin, tight end 27, who, again, I'm not a big believer in the age 29 breakout, but again, just kind of fits into this New York Jets offense with a pretty barren depth chart. He's
Yeah.
also been the victim of terrible quarterback play. So like if we're going to, give the rest of this offense the benefit of the doubt with Aaron Rodgers under center, I think we also give that to Tyler Conklin, and he's basically free.
I think Cade Otton is the best name that you mentioned, currently being drafted as tight end 28 in your dynasty leagues, which means he might be on the waiver wire right now. And if you have Hawk and you just need somebody to get you through the first 7 weeks of the season, let's go like worst case scenario. I think Cade Otton with Baker Mayfield in year 2, Cade Otton likely to play like 100% of the offensive snaps. I think it's a pretty good bet there, Kate. All right, let's move away from the Vikings. First 2 segments all about the Minnesota Vikings. And let's go over to Los Angeles to talk about our guy, Ladd McConkey with the Chargers. Why is his ADP falling so much? We will get to that next. This episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. It's the formula for winning championships, and it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, you will always get what you're looking for. eBay Motors has you covered with everything that you need, with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast. Everydayers, on Monday's show, we're going to start getting you ready for the 2024 season. It is officially game week with a game on Thursday. We're going to have a busy week of shows for you. On Friday, Kate, guess what? We get to do some promotion commotion for the first time this year. It's going to be so much fun. Cannot wait to do it. I can't believe football is already back. But, Kate, let's finish up here with our last faller in Dynasty Leagues. It is what bums me out because it's our guy, Ladd McConkey, down from 55th overall to 72nd overall. I got to believe a lot of this is injury-based, correct?
I think it's injury-based. I think it's, quarterback-based on the fact that, like, the quarterback has also been injured. I think it's system, which this is not projected to be a pass-heavy system. And then, like, what does his role in the offense look like, right? Like, is he a pure slot? Is he a guy that they are willing to move around on the outside? Like, I don't know that it's just one of these factors. I think it's a big pile of all of them, making fantasy managers just a little uneasy, especially heading into a rookie season where, like, I don't know what the range of outcomes is so wide.
Yeah, let's talk about where he's being drafted. Wide receiver 40 right now. A couple names around where he's going. Ahead of him, Christian Watson, wide receiver 36, Amari Cooper, wide receiver 37, Brian Thomas, wide receiver 38, Jaden Reed, wide receiver 39. Some of the names directly behind him include Chris Godwin, Terry McLaurin, Calvin Ridley, Keenan Allen. Does that feel about right to you, or would you drop him a little bit more?
No, I think that feels about right. I would take Ladd McConkey over all those guys. Just, again, for all the question marks that we have, there's still upside there. Like, I don't think you can drop him much more than that.
I don't know if you could drop him much more than that either. I still believe in Ladd McConkey's talent. I do. And I do think he's going to be the most targeted receiver in this passing game because I don't believe in Quentin Johnston. Josh Palmer, I kind of think is just a guy. Sorry, Josh. It doesn't seem like whatever injury he's had this offseason has been entirely detrimental to his training camp process. He did play at least some in the preseason, not a lot, but some. It appears that he's ready for week one. I just think once he's on the field in week one and once he starts producing, we're going to see that ADP jump.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. Now, again, like, I do think the range of outcomes is so wide that, like, I could still picture a world where, Ladd McConkey disappoints in his rookie season. Like, if he doesn't produce in year one, are people going to get, like, post-traumatic Quentin Johnston syndrome and drop him even more after the season? Like,
I don't see a way that he doesn't produce significantly better numbers than Quentin Johnston because he's a better pure receiver, right? The Chargers drafted Johnston because of his upside, right? Like that he could potentially be Deebo Samuel in the NFL, where Ladd is more of a underneath reliable athletic receiver who you can immediately get touches to. Like I compare him a little bit to like Khalil Shakir that way, right? I have a hard time, unless injuries happen, I have a hard time believing that Ladd won't be at least somewhat productive this year.
And yeah, I think like if you're looking at which one of these receivers in this offense is going to probably lead the team in targets, it still feels like Ladd, even if he's not on the field outside of like 3 wide receiver sets. I still think, I mean, yeah, I believe in the talent. So like this one just kind of bums me out a little bit.
I understand why he's dropping, but I still really like him. Like I'm still very bullish on Ladd McConkey long term.
So maybe this is a buy low opportunity. I what would you recommend trying to package together for a Ladd McConkey at this point, given his value?
Well, let's go through some recent trades. These are all via Dynasty League football. Ladd McConkey for Tony Pollard and Romeo Dubs. I'd rather just have Ladd McConkey, and I love Tony Pollard.
Same. Yeah.
Ladd McConkey in a 4th round pick for a 2025 2nd round pick.
I'll take Ladd.
Yeah. A couple other ones that are at least somewhat interesting. Ladd McConkey, a 1st round pick next year and a 2nd round pick next year for Sam Laporta.
I'm guessing this is a tight end premium.
No, I'm guessing it's not. Because if it's not, you probably would need to give up more. I'd rather have Laporta in that scenario.
That one's really close for me.
I got another one for you. Ladd McConkey and Josh Downs for DK Metcalf.
Ooh. In a full PPR, I'd probably lead McConkey and Downs. Half or standard, I'll go with DK Metcalf.
And the last trade I wanted to ask you about here. Ladd McConkey straight up for Chase Brown. This one was completed a couple days ago.
Ladd McConkey, easy.
Yeah. I agree. So I do think this is a good time that you can buy Ladd McConkey right now with his ADP dropping to wide receiver 40. And it appears that's even further down than that. Like, it seems like dynasty managers are very concerned about his injury history and his role in this offense. I think you can get Ladd McConkey relatively cheap. That is it for today's show. We want to thank you for making Locked On Dynasty Football your first listen every single day. For your second listen, go enjoy the Locked On Fantasy Football podcast. Get daily insights to the best fantasy draft strategies so that you can win your league this season. You can find the link to that show in the descriptions of this podcast, so you don't even need to go search for it. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Go check out our podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We are free and available on all platforms. Check us out on YouTube as well. You can follow Kate on Twitter at Kate Majuk. I'm at Marcus_Mosher. Have a fantastic holiday weekend, and we will see you right back here on Monday.